are these people?
But I did want to talk about Kshama, and I think again with Akili being here, it kind of gives a lot more context in terms of why she's doing what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it makes it even more admirable what she's doing. Because there are a lot of people online who are basically being like, "Oh, like we're losing." Yeah, you're losing. So basically, the story is she's stepping down from city
Running for
council in
office.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Well, that in the normal world is what you do.
Yes.
But essentially, she's taking a demotion to become an organizer.
Mm.
Yes, on a national stage, but an organizer nonetheless. So I know there's been a lot of hee-hawing about her decision, especially from that person on the right over there that is trying to muddy the waters quite a bit.
Hmm.
But we are going to talk about Kshama a little bit. But kind of talk about a little bit more about her a little in depth in terms of what she has done and just her personality overall, just to kind of give some context as to who she is, because I don't think we
Many people
know
know.
about her, but probably not so much for people who just have a very surface level view of Kshama, but kind of giving some context to her. So this article comes from the Seattle Times, written by Sarah Grace Taylor and Daniel Beekman, where they write, Kshama Sawant will not seek re-election to Seattle City Council.
Mm.
And they write, Kshama Sawant, an outspoken socialist on the Seattle City Council who's made headlines for nearly 10 years by pushing renter protections and big business taxes, announced last week she will not seek re-election to a fourth term. Instead, after serving on the council for a decade, Sawant will focus on helping launch a new national labor movement called Workers Strike Back. My office and Socialist Alternative have been successful in fighting for renters and the working class because we have mobilized rank and file workers, she told the Seattle Times in an interview Thursday. The reason I am not running for office is because we believe that work needs to be continued in and outside of Seattle. For Sawant, her announcement comes as she's getting ready to vacate the District 3 council seat when her final terms ends in December. Over the last decade, her unapologetic left-leaning agenda has made her lightning rod not on the dais while rubbing some of her colleagues the wrong way. At a press conference held at the New Hope Missionary Baptist Church, Sawant said she won election after election, not on the basis of get along politics, not on the basis of wine and cheese in the Chamber of Commerce and the rest of the establishment, but by fighting back and becoming a thorn in the side of Seattle ruling class. Since she first took office in 2013, Sawant has aggressively pushed progressive policies with an emphasis on the working class. Early on in her political career, her championing of the $15 an hour minimum wage effort helped make a reality in Seattle, delivering on one of the first campaign promises. Also, just as a note, one of the first areas in the country where that was initiated. So keep that in mind. In recent years, she persuaded others on the council to ban evictions during the school year, as well as the winter, and to include relocation assistance for tenants displaced by large rent increases. In 2020, she relaunched a tax Amazon push that the corporate giant had helped repel 2 years earlier. The council subsequently passed a payroll tax on high salaries at big businesses. Before the end of her term, she said she will bring rent control legislation to a vote on the council. Sawant was also the first, loudest, and most consistent voice by calling to defund Seattle Police Department in the wake of the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, which resulted in brief consensus on the council to divest 50% from the department. Later, her council colleagues abandoned the idea before it came time to vote. Despite disagreements, some of Sawant's more moderate counterparts, like Mayor Bruce Harrell, who frequently opposed Sawant during her shared time on the council, still praised Sawant for her vigor despite differing policy views. In all of our years working together, I've never doubted Sawant's advocacy and fire for addressing inequalities and advancing climate action, Harrell wrote in a tweet. I respect her commitment to uplifting the voices of workers and renters in our city. In 2021, an effort to recall Sawant made it to the ballot with 3 charges of alleged malfeasance, and violation of oath of office. Among the allegations brought on by her opponents was one accusing Sawant of using city resources to support a proposed tax Amazon ballot initiative and acting out of compliance with public disclosure requirements, for which she settled with the Seattle Ethics and the Elections Commission for $3,516. Sawant admitted to this charge, but said she was unaware it was a violation. Henry Bridger III, a District 3 resident who led the effort to recall Sawant, is glad she's leaving the council, he said Thursday. Bridger voted for Sawant in 2013 when she won a citywide seat by upsetting an incumbent with a campaign that called for a $15 minimum wage to combat income inequality after the Great Recession. But he became disillusioned when the council moved to district representation, saying she ignored what was going on in her own district, including drugs and homelessness. But Sawant prevailed, starving off the recall by roughly 300 votes. She said such efforts and subsequent harassment, like a rash of vandalism on her property in 2022, did not contribute to her decision to leave office and are on par for the course given her influence. There's no universe where you can do what we have done, which is win historic victories and stand up for the working class and not get in crosshairs of the ruling class, Sawant said in an interview late Thursday. They wouldn't be mad if I was not effective, she added. In fact, Sawant calls criticism from others in politics and businesses a badge of honor and only worries that the policy conversations she had driven will fade when she leaves. On the one hand, I fully expect big business, the chamber, and establishment Democrats to feel emboldened to bring City Hall back to corporate business as usual, like they had before me, said Sawant, who first made her decision known in an editorial in The Stranger. On the other hand, nothing is automatic. Former council member Nick Licata, who served with Sawant from 2014 to 2015, and who was the progressive outlier on the council before she joined, said the job can be exhausting, so she's not surprised that Sawant and several other council members are calling it quits. Licata didn't always appreciate Sawant's way of blasting colleagues, but thought her activist agenda opened doors for other council members that they hadn't considered. Gee, I wonder why. And led to concrete changes that help people. She was the only one willing to take the biggest risks on policies, and when you have someone who leads the charge, that has an impact, Licata said. In many ways, she set the tone. Santi Lekashik, I guess, a political consultant to mayors with whom Sawant clashed, Ed Murray and Jenny Durkin, said the socialist media savvy and ability to galvanize younger voters helped her push the council and Seattle politics to the left. Sawant still has the power to shape some conversations at City Hall and retains a hardcore base of support in her district, which includes Capitol Hill and the Central District, home to the city's most left-leaning electorate, Kashit said. But Sawant's uncompromising style, voting every year against what she describes as business as usual budgets, and the criticism of colleagues have over the years eroded her popularity somewhat and isolated her on the council, he said. After leaving her seat, Sawant says she will continue to further her work in stoking Seattle's youth and working class and will aim to bring her influence to a national scale. Launching in March, her new campaign, Worker Strikes Back, will seek pay raises, affordable housing, union jobs, and other protections for the working class. According to its website, Worker Strike Back is being formed by Sawant and Socialist Alternative in response to a wave of workers fighting to unionize at Amazon, Starbucks, and workplaces everywhere, the movement to defend abortion rights in the US, the Enough is Enough working class campaign in the UK, and the ongoing struggles of workers and young people to stop climate catastrophe and fight for a different kind of society. Asked if she would consider running for a different office down the road, Sawant said she can't rule it out, but will prioritize the will of Socialist Alternative. Always the guiding principle will be what is the best way of using our time and resources to fight for working people, she said.
Okay.
Any thoughts?
Not much. I mean, I appreciate she's leaving the electoral route behind and moving towards other things. I'm not necessarily sure what those other things are yet. You
Mhm.
know, I know I've heard her talk on
And
the subject, but
yeah, and I know she was on Savvy's show last week to kind of talk more about um
what
what
that
she's
is,
doing, and
yeah,
in the chat, Eric it said he thinks she's going to go on Jimmy Dore show.
Jimmy
Great.
Dorsey, yeah,
If she does, that's wonderful. Get her a bigger platform to kind of talk about what she's doing. I know, like, there's been some critique of her for two things. One, that she's actually leaving city council to do
yeah,
this, which makes sense,
yeah,
given that's not typical of a lot of people. Like, you use city council in the as a stepping stone for larger office, usually. So the fact she's not doing that is kind of like, oh, like, why would she do this? But I think more importantly, just regarding her demands, I think as far as a movement, which, by the way, is a movement, let's make that clear. It is not a political party. This is a movement. That they may be vague, which some might argue it's probably due to because she wanted to keep it simple in terms of not going with the huge, flowery language of, oh, we want to do this and all this, like, make it very clear to workers what she's for, which I also get.
yeah.
And if she's doing that way, that makes sense. But I think I just want to share with people, like, this is like, I personally, I kind of respect what she's doing in terms of, you know, um, using her influence to a larger audience that may not
Mm.
know her outside of us and Seattle.
Is there
So
is there
that's the
anyone
go ahead.
who doesn't appreciate it, like in particular?
Yes.
Okay,
There's one in particular who I have some information on
inflatable
to if you zoom
autopilot
out.
impersonator Ryan Grimm. Um,
Yeah. So Ryan Grimm, and I don't think she'll mind if I share this. Um
mm-mm.
Savvy had to talk to him about this tweet to where he
Yeah,
deleted it. So
yeah.
shout out to Savvy, because Savvy had Kshama on her show. Then Ryan put out this tweet, I think a day later, and Savvy DM'd him I'm not sure what she said to him. She just told me privately that she talked to Ryan about this tweet,
Well,
and
and
showed him
this really sticks in the
the
mud of like PMC types all over. I know some people at Rising had some problems as well.
right.
Because Marianne wasn't included, I think, something like that.
Well,
Um,
but Ryan wrote, before he deleted it, the People's Party launched in 2017, urging people to stop giving small dollar donations to progressive Democrats and instead give them to the People's Party and its affiliated podcasters.
mm, I
Hit on
wonder who he
Genie.
means. Um,
It's now 2023, and they never ran a single candidate. Now new third parties stepped in. Now, first of all, and I think this is probably what Savvy said to him, this is my guess.
mm,
It's not a movement. It's not a
a
party in the
party.
way of a political party.
Yeah.
And the idea of MPP is to run candidates. True. Based on the article that we just read, does it give any indication that Kshama is looking to do that with Workers Strike Back?
No.
No. No. She's using that platform that she has to galvanize workers, to have worker solidarity on a more national forum in a way that she was able to bring in Seattle. So two completely different things. But Ryan Grimm tried to smear her by making that association. Oh, this is another grift, that this is another politician that is trying to make money, because out of this, she's also developing a podcast as well. But, as I said, Sabi talked to him that he deleted that tweet.
Mm,
But he did, he couldn't help himself. So he tweeted this out. Kshama announces she won't run for re-election and then will instead work to organize a workers' movement and political party. Question, like,
Right, now he's speculating, you
now you're
know.
speculating and launching a show called On Strike. You know, so down at the bottom is what Kshama said in terms of why she's doing this. We're not going to read that.
Okay.
But on the next slide, hold on. Her launch column in The Stranger said that she's making the decision because the Squad and other progressives and democratic socialists are sellouts, DSA is too soft, and independent journalists on the left are the worst.
I wonder who she means.
Problem?
I'm betting it's that right there.
This one.
That one right there.
Yeah.
So yes.
But again,
Ryan, what did Kshama do to you? Did she hurt your feelings?
Yes, he did.
Oh, it's okay. Your hair's okay. Your hair's okay. It looks good. Your hair's fine.
No, but I just feel I think this is just a petty thing that he has in the way that Kshama basically burned his ass on
many things.
The show that she did on Brianna the Bad Fate, that episode which we all watched.
Yeah.
That he basically looked like an ass.
Yes.
But trying to make the association that Kshama is a grifter and all this kind of stuff. When the Squad was supposed to be the ones that should be doing this. Eric says Kshama's hurt the feelings of Grim. Yeah. So in a sense, this is a good thing. The fact that Ryan is bothered by Kshama, has been bothered by her so much that he's willing to kind of tweet this out to muddy the waters. And there were people online who kind of were going along with him, so he's doing his job, like putting doubt in people's minds of whether Kshama is doing the right thing.
And as people who might have been to therapy a few times can attest to, it's very gaslighty, right? Mm-hmm. It's very like, I'm going to antagonize all these people, and then when they get upset at me, I'm going to claim that everyone else is just infighting and they're just so ridiculous, and independent journalists are the worst, and that's mean of you, and like it's this like, it's not me, it's you mentality. I don't know. It's very manipulative and PMCE.
Little brother Greg, in the chat, he says, right now it's just a movement, but there are intentions to do a party style type of thing.
Maybe.
Which fine. Yeah. But here's the thing. I don't mind doing it this way. And I've made the argument that what MPP should have done is work on a local level first, build that movement up from there to elevate it to a higher level of candidates on the national stage. What they wanted to do was shoot for the moon and start bringing candidates on right from the jump.
Yeah.
And as of now, we don't have any from MPP.
Right.
Kshama Sawant has a proven track record of getting progressive policies in her district.
Right.
I think her take is that she's able to elevate that on a national level, or at least bring these ideas to a forefront to consolidate workers in terms of having a true workers movement, which is a void that we are lacking right now, which we were hoping that Burley and the Squad were able to fulfill, and they haven't done it. So, but I wanted to bring this up because I reported on this last week. So if you zoom out, just last week I talked about this story, which kind of went under the radar, kind of typical, but I just need to pull it up from my notes. But the Supreme Court is beginning to hear oral arguments in the Glacier Northwest versus International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local Union number 174, which basically is stating, that the Supreme Court can gut striking
Yes.
as a direct action tool.
Yeah.
And this is what C.S. Lewis asked. This was part of an interview to Brohenhammer when I read it. And I think this is very important as to why Kshama is doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he asked, it seems likely that Labor could face tough rulings from the courts. What does a hostile judiciary mean for Labor's strategy moving forward? Okay. Response, Labor could go any number of directions in how they respond. It could have the effect that Labor gets very cautious. Unions could start to decide that this is a time they shouldn't have any major actions and strikes, and they should back off filing massive unfair labor practice cases, and instead, very much like the early years of Reagan came to office, unions kind of back off and become afraid of the strike.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side would be unions saying, we know that this is political, and if we, in response to their decisions, create more chaos in the economy, strike more, engage in community campaigns, and get the public rally about this, then the judiciary may start to feel the pressure, or the executive branch will put pressure on the judiciary.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I say all of that.
How about that?
That's what I'm talking about.
But I wanted to bring this up for that reason. Because right now, we don't have a movement where people are willing to strike. We came very close with the railroad workers, but so far they haven't really done much of anything of that as of now.
No.
I'm having hope that they will, but I don't think it's very likely given.
Supposedly I hear in what, 2029 now, ALU is going to general strike, 2030, 2050.
Right. So and I think one is okay to be cautious in this. Absolutely. I think that's very valid in what Kshama is doing. But I think instead of being like, oh, she's a grifter, she's doing this and doing that, like engage with her. Like be a part of the conversation in terms of her demands. What would that look like? How they can be added onto it.
How can you actually help?
How can you actually help?
Yeah, don't just be adversarial to be adversarial.
Right.
Because
right now, we're in a position where we're going to lose Labor's going to lose any leverage if the Supreme Court has their way.
Yep.
And so right now, we need somebody. And I think, to me, it's like, best time for Kshama to do this. And again, the fact this is a demotion for her in a lot of ways. She doesn't have to do this.
No.
But the fact that she's willing to put herself on the line, and again, you could look at her track record to see what she's been able to do. That should give you a little bit more confidence to know that she's doing something that she believes in. And again, and I appreciated, what she said on Tabby's show. It's not about me, it's about we. She's always gone back to, I don't do anything without the support and checking in with Socialist Alternative. You heard that from Akile earlier. She didn't do anything without the support and basically the blessing of the Uhuru movement. That's what is needed right now in terms of having all these, I don't want to say in this way because it sounds kind of mean, but mascots.
Yes.
Who are, you say mascots, who are kind of running a lot of labor unions on their own intuition as the figureheads of them, like making their own decisions. And there's no accountability as to what are you for? Like, what are your demands? Like, what are your principles that are guiding your work? Like, who are the other people who are supporting you in terms of your work? Like Kshama has always said, I don't move and do anything without the connection and the collaboration with social. That's always been her North Star. And so, like, that should give people more confidence to hear that she's not going into this on her own. That instead of kind of bad mouthing her and being engaging like Ryan chose to do, Ryan, maybe talk to her about it and have her on and have it maybe explain
Like
it to you more
first.
in depth
Like first.
before you go off and kind of say, oh, she's being like MPP and all this bullshit.
Which, like, where you pulled that out of a hat, some, like, anyway.